to meet all of you. I might get a mic. They told me they're going to bring me one. But thanks. You can check with Braden. He told me he's going to get one.
Yeah, he told me.
Yeah. So I'm Nrikesari, and I've been living in Australia for the last two and a half years consistently. Prior to that, I was here for another 5 or 6 years, where I was always going out. I was going to India, I went to Mexico, went to the US, and all over the world except for Africa. And I was living in different ashrams and a bunch of amazing places. And a few years ago, I got the great opportunity to learn Jyotish, which is basically Indian astrology or Vedic astrology. And I'm still a student, but I got pretty good feedback, and I would like to share that with you today. So first of all, many people they would ask, why would you study Vedic astrology? Like, why would you get into astrology? And what I would like to do today, I would like to explain to you what I find fascinating about it, how it is different to Western astrology, and how you can use that knowledge to change your life. Does it sound okay?
Sounds great.
Yeah, and then at the end of the whole talk, I thought, like, just to give you something that you can take away and read, just a little bit. And that is, in Vedic astrology, rising sign will be different to your Western sign. And I have some printouts, so if you want to come afterwards, I can tell you which rising sign you are exactly. I can't count your number, how Nrikesari does, but I need your birth time on the hour. And then I can give you some handout, and you can read a bit about your rising sign, which is like one block about who you are. And then if you want to know the other 1,000, then you can come and see me later. Okay. Yeah, so the first thing that I'd like to share with you is that, have you ever noticed that this whole world is actually very organized? Like, things actually are not random. Things are not completely like mere chaos. For example, if you see the sun, it always rises at a predictable time in the same place, right? It sets at the same place. It seems like it's really orderly. It's not completely random. Then if you look at like how the clouds take the water from the ocean and bring it to the trees and to the mountains, it's a very organized system, right? Without creating any rubbish. It's completely different to how we do it. Like in India, if you try to cross the road, like, it's not random, like no car hits you. It's like, it's amazing, it's a miracle, right? So in the same way, we can see this whole world, there's some structure to it, there's some order to it. But just when it comes to our own life, things seem completely random. Like, I tell you, have nothing to do with my parents. Like, we're completely different. Like, I don't know what happened. They're lovely people, but I think, do we need a mic? I think we're fine, yeah? Do you think we need it? I think it's not on. Mic, one, two. No, I think, thank you for bringing it. So, if it comes to our life, we think it is very random. Like, it seems maybe the parents, maybe the family that we're born into, maybe it seems like so different from them, you have nothing really to do with that, or maybe it's just one of them, maybe it's just mom or dad, and we feel like, oh, like, is there any order to that? Or maybe we feel when we sort of have certain, all the friends that we have, or that the career that we pick up with, or sort of all those people that we meet in relationships, we think that is really random and there's no system to it. But what I would like to invite you to explore that idea that maybe in the same way how there's a reason for the sun to rise every day at the same spot, and how there's a reason for it that this world is like organized, like whole nature, it's pretty intelligent if you think about it. So maybe also there's a reason that we are born in a particular time, in a particular family, in a particular place, and that we're going to experience certain things in our life, It's a fair enough assumption, right? At least we should have explored that once. Why should that be? Do you think the universe is that stupid? Yeah. Do you really think so? Like, if it makes everything so nice, but then just us, it sort of was an accident. Do you think so? I don't think so. And I want to invite you to to explore that with me. And to start this off, I want to introduce you also to the idea that actually astrology is nothing new. And actually astrology is something that all the cultures in the world used to do. Or if not all, at least the majority of them. And at least I think nearly all of them that I encountered. And not only were all of them doing astrology, but they were also speaking with each other, and they were all sharing information. And to give you some examples, like I'm doing Vedic astrology, which is Indian astrology, and obviously people in ancient India were doing it, the Egyptians were doing it, the Chinese were doing it, the people in Babylon, they were doing it. Very different cultures. They don't have much in common. They don't have, on the first glance, they don't have much in common. But if you look into it a little deeper, we can see that they were definitely trading information. And the first point in which that becomes obvious is that every all the major cultures in the world have 7 days in the week. Did you ever wonder why there's 7 days in a week? Did you notice it?
Yeah.
How many days are in a week? 7. Have you ever spoken have you ever spoken with people who really into traditional China and checked out how many days they had before Western people came there?
Yeah.
You're talking how many days in a week in China? It's 7 as well. If you dig into it, please do your research. It is 7 days, and not only is it 7 days, but actually even the 7 days they're named in the same fashion, right? For example, in Australia we have the week. On which day does the week start?
Sunday.
Sunday. Very good. Okay. So in Australia we have Sunday. In India you have Ravivar. Is that correct? Do you spell it like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. In France, any French people here?
Dimanche.
Dimanche. Is it connected to the sun?
No.
Not that one. Okay, what is Tuesday?
Monday is connected to the moon.
Monday. What's Monday?
Lundi.
Lundi. Okay, let's take Lundi.
Yeah.
Give me Tuesday. Mardi.
Mardi.
Yeah.
Mars.
And what's Wednesday?
Mercredi.
Mercury. Sounds like Mercury.
Yeah.
Mercury. I don't know how to spell that.
See, that's okay.
Yeah, Mercury.
And then, yeah.
Mercury.
Yeah.
What else? Which other languages? Any key Maoris here? I was looking for Aboriginal Australia and how they would name the days, but actually I couldn't find enough information on the internet.
Yeah.
And so I checked actually in the Maori language. Any Maoris here? No. Okay, fair enough. And actually all their weekdays are perfectly lined up. I have it in my handout, but you can do your own research on that one.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting that Sunday obviously refers to the sun, and Ravi also refers to the sun. Now we have Monday, and Monday refers to the moon, and Lundi also refers to the moon. It's quite obvious. In Hindi, what do you say in India? Sombar. Okay, there you go. So Somar is the moon. So in every culture there's the same fashion. Like now in English we have Tuesday, and actually Tuesday it goes back to Latin and Greek and sort of the Roman Empire, and have the god Tur, which sort of is the god of war, right? So in French you have Mardi, which is Mars. Have you ever heard the saying men are from Mars and women are from Venus?
Ah.
Yeah, right? Actually, that is true, because men these days are really like Martian. But actually, in Vedic culture, men are like Jupiter, because Jupiter is all about duty, commitment, responsibility, right? Mars is all about fighting, competition, football, getting drunk. So cultures change, but the archetypes they remain the same. And then for Wednesday, Mercury, we have the connection to Mercury. How do you say is Buddhavar, or what do you say? Bud. Okay, there you go, Buddhavar. And so in Hindi, the connection to Mercury is obvious. And you can take it from many cultures. You can check it out yourself. I checked a few, and it's amazing. It's very amazing to see this connection. Just to complete the list, I quickly go for it because I want to tell you many things today. Saturn is obvious, right? The Saturday, it's obvious for Saturn. Friday, you have like the goddess like Freya. Freya, she's connected to Aphrodite. So Friday has a connection to Venus. How do you say in French?
Vendredi.
Vendredi. Huh? Yeah, okay. I'm not going to spell it out. Thursday is Thor, right? Thursday we get from Thor. So Thor is connected to Jupiter.
So the middle week is about men.
Huh?
The middle part of the week are
Men.
masculine. And
No,
then the...
actually Mercury, he's like in between, you know? How see Mercury's in between, right? So he's the in-between personality.
Yeah.
Sunset and sunrise, that's Mercury. Like sort of in between genders, that's
Yeah.
Mercury. You have the man there. Yeah, maybe there's something about it. I have not digged into it. But if you want to go for a date, better go on Friday than on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but that was not the point I wanted to make.
Sorry.
It's very interesting. The same names. Another thing that stands out is that in many of the cultures, they have 360 degrees in a circle. Did you notice that? Yeah. Why do you think they're 360 degrees in a circle?
Because
Have you ever thought about it?
Does it to do with the distance from the Earth to Sun and Moon? Something?
Because it's 360?
No, I don't know, but there is logic is.
Definitely, I'm sure.
Pick me.
Ah.
Days of the year, maybe?
Because there's 360 days in a year?
And you go,
Why is there 365 days in a year? Why not 100?
Is it because of the one lunar cycle or one cycle? That's the time taken.
Mm-hmm. It's because of the solar cycle, that's correct. So actually, one solar cycle is 365 days. And now, the moon, it takes slightly less. And that's why there's solar and lunar calendars. In our calendar, we sort of change it up a bit to adjust for it. But the reason why there's 360 degrees in a circle is because the main reason to do mathematics, the main reason to get really good in geometry back in the days, it was to understand how the sun moves around, how the earth moves around the sun, to do actually astronomy. And that's why you can see today in our culture we have 360 degrees in a circle. It would be much easier to do mathematics with 100. But it's exactly, it exists because originally all math was actually used to do astronomy. So we can see, and why is there 12 months in a year, by the way? All cultures also not only have 7 days in a week, they also have 12 months in a year. Why is there 12 months in a year? What do you think? Hey, Danny. Any ideas? Have you never thought about it?
Because of the constellations and the way they move through the sky.
But there's a lot of constellations. They could have made. You heard of the 13 zodiac sign?
Yeah.
Seasons.
The seasons, because there's 12 seasons in a year.
But they can be divided, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so the main point why there's 12 seasons is in a year is because it takes the Earth takes 365 days to go around the sun, and the moon takes 1 month, like 29 days to go around the Earth, and basically it takes 12 times around the Earth in a year. And that is basically every time the moon goes around the Earth once, that becomes a month.
Yeah.
And that makes 12 months in a year. And that is why we have 12 months. So, and we can see that same concept in and this is how they make the signs actually, how they define the signs. Because if you look, the signs, they're actually all 30 degrees in a circle, right? But in the sky, they're not. Because they actually measure, what they actually measured is how many times did the moon go around the sun. Does that make sense? A little bit. I'm just going to do mathematics for 5 minutes and then we get into some more relevant stuff. I'd just like to share with you that there's something that all the cultures in the world knew, like ancient China, ancient India, ancient Egypt, like Babylonia, like all the big guns, they knew this stuff. And our modern society is so disconnected from time and space. And the whole presentation will be how time is affecting everyone. And yeah, so one question, the last question on that note is that I want to ask you is why, so we can understand there's 7 days a week, okay, fair enough. There's 12 months a year, this makes kind of sense, 365 days in a year. But please tell me, why are the weekdays in this order? Like, huh? The planet, that's right, because first comes the sun, and then the moon, and then Mars, and then Mercury, and then Jupiter. No? No, that's right.
I would have believed you.
So am I. What do you think? Any ideas? No? Any takers? Okay, I don't want to put you on, but I think it's really cool. When I learned this, I thought this was amazing, because actually you have to understand that every culture in the world knew this, and this is why the name the days of the week like that. But today it seems like no one knows. Like sort of time just passes and knowledge does not get passed on, and people, they just get like really removed from time, and right, and you go to school and you don't learn anything that is important. Yeah. Okay, so that's the last mathematics, and then we get into some other things. So basically, in astrology, there's this concept that you can judge any big activity or any event by the time it starts. Okay, like in the same way, also I get your birth time, and technically I can see, or a good astrologer, he can see your whole life. You know, like how you develop as a child, like what will happen in your teens, when you hit puberty, like sort of who will be your first love, which kind of job, like sort of what are your tendencies for the job, which days your life is going to end. Like a good astrology, be able to see all of that just because of the time that you were born, right? And there's many other ways you can apply this knowledge. Like, for example, B.V. Raman, he's a famous Vedic astrologer. He brought astrology famous out of India because he would look at World War II, who was fighting, and he would look at sort of the charts of the countries, and he would predict who will win. And yeah, it was pretty good, and that is why astrology got famous. So, but the point is, just by the time you start an activity, you kind of know what's going to happen and how it's going to end. And this is important with the weekdays, because the week starts with the sun. Actually, one step back, the week starts with the sun, because the sun is considered the king of the planets, because all the planets rotate around the sun, right? So the sun has this kind of supreme position. It's kind of in the center, right? It's the king. And so naturally gets the first point in time. And then the day in Vedic culture, in ancient India, I'm sure in other cultures too, it starts at sunrise, right? Our day starts at midnight, which doesn't make any sense, right? It's midnight, and the day has actually not started. But the real day, it starts at sunrise. So let's make it an average of 6 a.m., right? So the day starts at 6 a.m. And we call it, in English, we call this hour. In Sanskrit, the word for it is hora. And even the English word hour actually comes from Vedic culture. Like, we actually have so much root in that ancient culture. Now, how many hours are there in a day? 24. Awesome. Why?
Because of the setting of the sun and the moon.
Because it takes 24 hours, right, for the sun to rise and set?
Yeah.
What's an hour then?
Yeah, why 24? Have you ever thought about it? How many hours were there in ancient China? Before the West came, you know, with their clocks. 12. Okay, 12. Why 12?
Same number as a month.
Same number as Mars.
As a month. 12
As a
months
month,
in a year.
okay. Because there's 12 months in a day. Okay, it's very easy, because if you divide the sign according to the moon and you get to 12 rising signs, in one day, according to the motion of the earth, every sign will rise once. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you look out in the sky tonight? I think if you look that way where the moon is, if you can see that there's a clear sky. Last night you couldn't see it because the moon was so bright, but actually there's Cancer. And then sort of Cancer will go up, and then Leo will rise. And basically every 2 hours another sign will rise. And in that way, every sign, because the earth rotates once, right? Every sign will rise once. And therefore, if you don't have anything to measure time, like in the ancient days, you can use the stars and the sun, which actually make time possible. And you can measure the day according to that. And therefore, we have 12 signs in a day. Now, this is how they do it in China. Now, in Vedic culture, they understand that everything actually is equally balanced between male and female. You have the sun, which is the king, and the moon is considered the queen. And they're like complete opposites. Like how we see in this world also, there's a male energy and there's a female energy. And we also want to have a good balance, right? Even in ourselves, we want to have a good balance. In relationships, we want to have a good balance. Like with anything, does it make sense? So also every sign that rises, it has a male and a female sign, so a male and a female side to it, and therefore they divide the signs again by 2, and you get 24 parts, and this is why we have 24 hours. Now, the first hour of the day, the sun gets, because the sun is the king. And now every next planet will take 1 hour, will take possession 1 hour, and will be sort of the lord of their time. Because the planets, according to astrology, they're not just like dumb stones flying in the sky, but actually they have they have a personality. They have consciousness. Actually, in Vedic culture, the whole universe is conscious. And the whole universe is trying to talk to you. Like, you can look at the sky and you can read the sky. Actually, you can read anything in life if you have the eyes to see it. And what the planets do, they take position of certain elements of time and control their time and control what happens. And because people back in the days, they're very in tune and knowing whose time is when, and they would see what happens. Because good things can only happen at good times, and bad things will only happen at bad times. And there's general good times and general bad times, and then there's good and bad times for you. You know, you had times in life and everything was great, and you had times in life and nothing would work. There was a reason for that. And it's good to know, right? Like, you go out, and yesterday it was raining, and it's good to know that you have to take an umbrella, right? Astrologer tells you take an umbrella. It's good. It's good to know. And it's maybe a sunny day, so you can take out your shorts and go swimming. So now the sun gets the first hour. Now, if you go all the way through, that's the last bit of mathematics, okay? I know, I love mathematics, but not everyone does, right? So the sun gets the first one. According to the speed of the planets, they all take the next hour. So we have 7 is Venus, because the sun gets the speed of the earth. Because the sun is not moving, but the earth is rotating, right? So from our vision, the sun has the speed of the earth. So you take the sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, then you go back to the beginning, Saturn, Jupiter. I make them a little shorter. Wait, 1, 2, Jupiter, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. Oh, what did I do wrong? 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. Oh yeah, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, got it. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
You missed Mars.
Say that again?
In the first cycle, from Sunday down, there's no Mars?
Oh, thanks. Sorry, yeah, that's right. Moon. 1 second.
Taking notes here.
Class, buddy.
Good student.
Very good student.
It's okay.
Okay, sorry for my handwriting. You know, you go to university, there's those professors and no one can read their handwriting. So Moon, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury. Okay, then so basically we have the 24 hours.
Yeah.
Just understand at one point. It's a cool point to get. So we take the hours of the day. 6 o'clock is the sun. Then we go according to the speed of the planets. Every planet gets 1 hour. And then the next day, 6 a.m., we'll be back at the moon. So when the next day starts, because in Vedic culture, the day starts when the sun rises, which makes sense, because now is actually the next day, right? At midnight, it is not the next day. It is still the previous night. When the next day starts, the next hour will be lorded by the moon. And because it's the moon's hour, and he starts the day, therefore the moon takes charge of that day. And then if you continue that list, and count in the same way, same order, then Tuesday will be Mars. And therefore Mars takes charge of Tuesday. Wednesday will be Mercury, Thursday will be Jupiter, Friday will be Venus, and Saturday will be Saturn. And then on Sunday we'll go back to the sun, and that's actually why there's 7 days and not 8 days. And that's how it's repeating yourself. And you see any culture in the world, some cultures try to do like 5-day weeks and 6-day weeks, and it never works because they're not in alignment with nature. Because the whole idea of studying astrology, it is not just studying the stars, but it's understanding like everything. How does this world work? Like how does everything connect? And if you're not in alignment with nature, then life is going to be really tough. And how you can use this? Like, I want to give you some practical advice how you can use this. That is, any person who's born on a particular weekday actually will take up some qualities of those weekdays, you know? Your rising sign that I can tell you at the end, it will be the prominent quality. But then your weekday will give you something, you know? So for example, people born on a Tuesday, they're just a bit more competitive than other people. Like, it's a bit more natural. Saturnian people on a Saturday, they're a bit more like into responsibilities and hard work and things. Sometimes they tend to mature a bit earlier because things are just a bit more tough. You know, people on Thursday, they tend to be more drawn to deeper wisdom and, you know, Jupiterian things. And there's Jupiterian things, you know, that's how astrologers speak. Just to make it short and sweet, right? Like wisdom, could be finances. Yes, my friend.
I don't know if this is too big of a question, but why is, like, say, like certain attributes associated with a certain planet rising?
Because the planets, they represent archetypal energies. Like in the same way how there's 3 colors, right? Red, yellow, and blue. Is that correct? Yeah, cool. In the same way how there's 3 colors which you cannot divide any further, which are archetypal energies. So also the 9 planets, they present preliminary archetypal energies. And you could divide them even further technically, those 9 planets, and you could divide it into 3. But I'm not going to do that right now because it's going to be too much. You can come back next time and listen to another workshop. But yeah, primary archetypal energies. Does that make sense?
Yes, once
Yeah.
I learn what that means as well.
Do some writing.
Yes.
Sorry, I have
Yeah.
2 questions. There's that saying, you know, Sunday's child is full of life, Monday's child is fair of face, Wednesday's child is full of woe. Is that a bit of the accuracy?
I don't know the saying, to be honest,
don't?
but it does sound about right.
Yeah.
It does sound about right. Yeah.
I'm a Wednesday, I'm
Yeah.
full of woe.
Full of glow.
That's what it says.
Okay.
Oh,
Definitely, if you study different cultures, you will see a lot of them understood all of that. Well, like, just look at it. Women are from Venus and Mars are from men are from men are from Mars. Like, you can see that archetypal energy. Many people understand it subconsciously. I could give a whole class on that, but no.
And the other question, what about the other planets?
The other planets, like Uranus, Neptune.
Yeah.
In Vedic astrology, the 9 planets are Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn.
Oh, okay.
Because they complete the set. There's 2 more planets, but not Uranus and Neptune, because it is said that everything that is in those outer planets, because they're so far away from the Earth, it's that everything that is in them is actually already in the other planets. Okay. So they're actually combination of the other ones. Okay. Like in the same way how there is 10 numbers or 9 numbers, and all the other numbers are just sort of out of them. Yeah. So in Vedic astrology, you have your 9 planets. So if you take the Lagna, you have 10. And those 9 planets are these 7. And then you have Rahu and Ketu. And Rahu and Ketu, they're shadow planets. And we're also not going to speak about it. Because you only have 1 hour, you know? What do you expect? But I will tell you a few more things how you could apply this, just to give you some idea of Vedic astrology. And then I will speak about what are common questions that people ask me all the time, which I thought are very important. So I focus on them. And then at the end, I open it up. You can ask me anything you want. And I speak about it a little bit. Okay?
Yep.
Cool. So not only does the day of the week affect a little bit about your personality, but there's this concept in Vedic astrology of Panchanga. Pancha means 5, Anga means limbs, which means that the 5 elements of time, because actually time, first of all, today we learned it's not just quantitative, it's not just like 1 minute and 2 minutes, 1 day and 2 days. No, there's a quality to them according to the planets. But now the next thing is, in Vedic astrology, there's also space connected to time. And even in physics, you can actually only measure time because of the movement in space. If nothing would move, like in space, you could not count time. Have you thought about that before? Yeah? So also in Vedic astrology, time is made out of 5 elements. Do you know the 5 elements? Yes? Which is first one? Louder? Prana, yeah, kind of. Prana is like kind of air. It's like a good side of air.
Yeah.
Air, but it's
Water.
water,
Fire.
We just
Fire.
finished Ayurvedic workshop, Nrikesari. Everything learned already.
air, water, fire, and
No.
Air.
Air.
And ether. There we go. Or space. Awesome, cool. So now, what happens is that in your life, according to when you were born, according to the time where you're born, you have a certain connection to the 5 elements. And those 5 elements, they rule 5 distinct areas of life. Actually, air is not just like, O2, and water is just not H2O. yeah. But actually, there's much more than that. For example, fire is your ability, your vitality, your ability to be healthy in life. If you don't have much fire, as you learned with my very dear friend Nrikesari in the Ayurveda workshop, if you don't have much fire, it means you will have health problems. Because your body cannot digest food, you won't get nourishment, all the toxins, you cannot take them out. And therefore, fire is also connected to the day of the week you were born. Because only by fire can you see the day. Because the sun is full of fire and gives light, that's why we have a day. Without fire, without sight, fire is connected to sight, you cannot see a day. And therefore, whichever day you were born, that planet, it becomes in charge of your fire element. And that means if you were born on Tuesday, and Mars at that point was having some trouble in the sky, like in another workshop you can learn how the planets have feelings, yeah, and they can be happy, they can be unhappy, they can be in a good spot or in a bad spot. And if you were born and Mars was really getting a hit, that means your fire element in your life would be bad. Like that means that you don't have much fire in your tummy. Like health will be an issue. And there's many other things to look at, but that's how it works. Another point that you could use that is, is that when you understand the day of the week, or let's look at the water element actually. The water element, what do you think is water for? Like we hear about fires connected to health. What do you think water has to do with? Emotions. Right, very good. Fire, if you see, it's about, transformation. You make a bread, you put like flour, and like you make these balls, you put them in the oven, you put fire, transforms, right? So also our fire in the stomach, it transforms, gives us good health. Now water, it binds, right? It binds. If you put water and flour together, it binds together. Yeah. If you go to the beach with your girlfriend, like it binds you together. Yeah. Have you noticed that? Right? Water has this sort of, it's juicy, right? Everyone likes the water, right? But the water actually is not connected to the day, it's connected to the moon. And which planet lords the phases of the moon. And it's clear if that planet was not very strong when you were born, then relationships will be a bit like, you'll be always complaining. You'll be always complaining. It will be very difficult to find satisfaction in that way. So, and there's other areas of life for air and for earth and for ether. You could speak about it, you could discuss what you think. I can't tell you everything right now. But my idea is just to show you that there is some reason for everything that happens in this world. And for any area of life, sometimes people ask me, what can you see? And then I tell them, like, it really depends what you want to know. Everything is there. Because actually those are the reasons why things are happening in our life. They're not random. And another thing you could use this knowledge before I go to common questions is that, for example, if someone knows how to read a chart, if you go to an astrologer, then let's say you're really into career. The best day to apply for a job is when the planet connected to your career, when it's his day, right? Because you want to get your career, you want to advance. If you get tried for a job at that day, it's so much likely to happen. If you cannot get that day, at least if you can get that hora. Like there's 110 ways how you can use this knowledge. But I just wanted to give you some quick idea to just blow your mind and get you started on Vedic astrology. Now, I thought that many people, they always ask me about what is the difference between Vedic and Western astrology, right? And I thought I'm going to speak about that, number one. And number two, I thought I'm going to speak about, I want to speak about, okay, got it. Is there free will or how about free will and destiny? And I thought I'd just dwell mainly on those 2 points. What's the difference between Western and Vedic astrology? And like, how does it work? Like I saw one person, was it here or last week? And we were speaking and I told him, like your first girlfriend, she was like that. And he's like, yeah, exactly. And then this year it failed. And he's like, yeah. And then I said, this year your second girlfriend came out. Yeah. And that year it failed. He's like, yeah. And then I told him, this year another one will come. And he said, but how much free will do I actually have? If you you can see all of this. So people ask this question all the time. So I thought we dwell on those two. Do you think that's interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then afterwards you can ask me whatever you want. And then we have to go for lunch. So number one, what is the difference between Vedic and Western astrology? So first of all, as you might have seen already, there's a huge difference, right? And one of the big differences is that we use a completely different zodiac. So for example, many people think in Western astrology, they think, I'm an Aquarius, like my sun is an Aquarius. And then they find out when they see me that I tell them, no, actually your sun is in Pisces. And the reason for that is that there's a difference between the tropical and the sidereal zodiac, which means in Western astrology, they actually don't use the actual location of the stars to determine the signs, but they look actually where the sun is from the earth. So when they say there's areas, because once upon a time, the stars in the sky and the sun and the earth, they were in alignment. But what actually happens is that the outer stars, they rotate and they change by 1 degree every 72 years. Which means now, since 2,500 years, actually Aries has moved 20 degrees. Or let's say Aquarius has moved 20 degrees. And where was Aquarius 2,000 or thousands of years ago? Now there is Pisces. So that is the difference between the zodiac. And both systems work as a system, but they're different. That's the first difference. Second difference is that in Western astrology, there's never been like a lineage you could pass down information throughout centuries, and therefore it's a bit of a double here, a bit of a double there, but there is no succession of being knowledge passed down over thousands of years, because people were killed for doing astrology. Like if you think about it, in Europe and things like that. Then the emphasis in Vedic astrology is about the rising sign and not about the sun sign, because the sun, it only moves one sign every month. Have you not? You're aware of that. But then if you look every month, the people who are born, there's a decent amount of difference. I mean, they're a little bit similar, like the sun is in the same place, but the rest of the sky is completely different. So in Vedic astrology, we use the rising sign because that changes every 2 hours. It allows for much more play room. And from the rising sign as well, we calculate all the different areas of life, allowing for huge place of variability. Even just in like half an hour of time, people can be so different, even though they're born in the same month, but just half an hour apart from each other, even 5 minutes, it can change everything. So, and a good astrologer, he can help you, even if you don't know your birth time, if you just know the hour. Like a good astrologer can help you to find out what is exactly your birth time, because you will say, is it this, and this? And you're like, no. Then you're like, it must be this, and this. And you say, yeah. This is how you can rectify the time. But the importance is on the rising sign, not the sun sign. But then the rising sign is just one out of a billion things that you can look at. It's important. Don't understand me wrong. And at the end, you can come to me. I can all tell you your rising sign and give you a handout. You can read up on it. But there's so much more, because then you have your rising sign, which is your personality. You have your sun sign, is what you identify with. Like, where's your ego? Where's your pride? Maybe that's why they like it in the West, because the ego is a bit more important here, like our pride. Then you have your moon sign, and the moon sign, it actually tells you about our emotional reality. It tells me about who was your mom. Like in psychology, I'm studying psychology on the side, and there's this whole thing of attachment theory. Has anyone heard of attachment theory before? Yeah. And they say, your mother, she was kind of chaotic and not there for you, and now you have like an attachment style for the rest of your life. That is 100% true. But what they don't understand is that actually it was not just because of your mother. It was because when you were born, the moon was together with Saturn. And therefore, when you were a baby, your mom, she was not there because you didn't have the karma for that. Like not going against anyone, but there's a higher reason for it. If you study Vedic astrology, you see anything that happens to you, it was not because of them. Like, it was because of you. Like, you had to experience this. And it's a bit difficult to digest, but once you get it, it can change your whole life because you're never ever going to blame anyone else for your problems. And actually gives you responsibility for your life. How good is that? And I'm open to it. If you want, you can prove me wrong. But I've never seen it. Like, I've never seen like a person who was born with the moon just perfectly fine, or with the moon perfectly fine, and or with the moon very perfectly fine, and then having all these problems with their mother. It doesn't happen. Because the moon is the archetypal mother, and because of the moon our mother behaves in a certain way, and then because of that we have an emotional reality for the rest of our life, unless we can find a new mother figure which can sort of help us to repair. So much on that. And then we don't stop there. Like, it's not just the rising sign and your sun sign and your moon sign. No, then you can look at all the other planets and all the other areas in your life, and that's even not enough. Then you can look at how are you on a deeper level, like on a soul level. There's a planet, it's called the Atmakaraka. In English, there's a soul planet. I mean, what is the planet that is like covering you, like your soul, like the closest covering of you? People who only really know you know that. And then you can contrast that with the Aruda, like how do other people see you? Because you know Muhammad Ali?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? What's his rising sign? Aries, right? You think so?
Leo or something.
Leo, yeah. No, actually, he's Cancer.
Is it?
Can you believe it?
What, Vedically, yeah?
Yeah, he's Cancer rising, like this emotional person, actually, sensitive person.
Yeah.
But then, it doesn't make sense, right? And then his moon is in Capricorn. Means like, okay, Capricorn is like very practical person, okay, a little bit like separate from his emotional reality, but still. But then if you look at his Aruda, which is the image point, which means people who don't really know you, who are just like, at work, people don't really know us, they just see our image. If you look at his Aruda, it is in Aries. So that's why you all think he's Aries, because he has his image point in Aries. And it's not only conjunct in Aries, it's with Mars and with Saturn. With Mars and Saturn together, it's called Yama Yoga. Yama means death, and Yoga means combination. So he's known for like bringing death to people, like fighting people. Like, not, you don't have to take everything literally. Sometimes the Vedic texts, they can be a bit harsh, but you can take the principle, right? He's known as a fighter. And you don't know him as a Cancer, right? Because you don't know him. Have you ever spoken to him? So this is how it works. Vedic astrology is multi-layered, in the same way like you're multi-layered. So if you expect to open some pop magazine and then read about your star sign and your destiny, it might not work because it's not particularly about who you are. And for that, person actually has to really look at your birth time, and you can't really print that. It's too much in a magazine. But it's definitely, it can be very helpful. And so much on the difference between Western and Vedic astrology. Not going to put anyone down, but they're just different systems. Now, number 2, one point that I wanted to speak about is that is there destiny or free will? Right? What do you guys believe? What do you think? I want to collect opinions.
Yes.
Free will? Is there free will? I want to see hands up. How many people say free will? Only this half. Okay, how many people say destiny? Okay, and many people there, not sure. Both. Okay, both. I like it. Okay, actually it's both. That's right. Exactly. And maybe I can write it out on the board. Let's try that. Do we have water? No, I mean. We'll be back after I wipe the board. Okay, so what do I want to say? Okay. That's right. So one of my friends, one of my teachers, he told me this really nice saying that we have much more free will than we think we do have, and we use much less than what we think we do. So, and then that's also what I learned.
Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, basically it means that actually, like, as a human being, you have so much power, so much like choice, so much like energy to change your life and change your direction. Like, actually people are not aware of how much you can shift and how much you can change and how quickly you can change. Like, people are actually absolutely unaware of it. But so that's what it means, that people have much more free will than they think. Like, they could do so much more than what they're doing, and then they use much less than what they think they do. That means that they could do so much amazing, but they think whatever they're doing right now already, they think, oh, that's fantastic. Like, I'm using so much of my free will already. They're thinking, I am free, I am independent. I don't let other people tell me what to do, right? That's what it means. I thought it was really, very, very deep. Does it make sense? Kind of. You can think about it. You can think about it. So I repeat it again. My teacher told me that we actually have much more free will than we think we have, and we use much less than what we think we do.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, so we're not reaching our full capacity.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, so that's my introduction to telling you a little bit about karma. Actually, Vedic astrology is very tightly connected to a philosophy of karma.
Good planning.
Nice.
That did
Are you
feel
blowing off
free
your
will.
That's an emphasis.
He fell
Karma
asleep.
balancing.
Are you okay?
Nrikesari, you blew him off your seat.
Sorry. Okay. I was laughing because you commented. I blew him off the seat. Okay. So Vedic astrology is very tightly connected to the concept of karma. And then karma basically. Have you heard of karma before? Do you believe in karma? Do you know how it works?
No. Somewhat.
Okay.
Everything's
Definitely.
balanced.
I think you're really humble. I'm sure you know a bit how it works, but you're just very humble. Because I spoke with many people, and like so many people tell me that they believe in karma, but I spoke even deeper, and I noticed not many people have actually studied it like in school or something like that, like deeply. And how it is described is that that there is 4 different types of karma. First of all, they are called. I hope that doesn't go over your head. There's 4 types of karma. They're called samchitta. Number 1, they're called prarabdha. Prarabdha. Sure, yeah. Prarabdha. Prarabdha, yeah. Kriyamana. And agama. Okay, they're called samchitta karma, prarabdha karma, kriyamana karma, and agama karma. So basically, samchitta karma is that all your karma that you have from all your previous lifetimes, right? Because if you believe in karma, naturally, the concept of reincarnation is tightly tied to karma. Because otherwise, how would it be that we all come in this world differently, right? If karma would be only in this life, then all our reactions today would be all based from what we did in kindergarten. But it doesn't really make sense, right? So you can think about it for some time, right? You don't have to take it all in right now, but think about it. I thought about it for some time. So sanchita karma, it refers to all the karma that we have from all our previous lifetimes, like thousands and millions and hundreds and whatever, all of our lifetimes. And this is our whole stock of karma. And total karma. And that total karma, technically the astrologer can see it. There's one chart in your chart, like in Vedic astrology, we not just use one chart, but actually we have like 16. And one of them actually shows the total karma. But but it doesn't make much sense to speak about it because, I mean, it's not going to affect you so much in this life. But what really matters is the prarabdha karma, which is the karma that you have for this life. Like in the same way, like maybe you go home to Melbourne or China or Australia or Germany or wherever you are, and you have your bank account there, and you might have millions of dollars, right? Or whatever, or like something. And when you come here, then you take some pocket money out, right? Maybe you bring with you, let's say we don't have FPOS, you bring with you maybe $100 or $200, and then that's your money here, right? And you cannot access, unless there's FPOS, you cannot access the karma that's over there. So in the same way also, we have certain karma that we bring in this life. And this that we're going to experience in this life. And your basic chart, like the first and main chart that we use, that's the Western chart, like that sort of kind of Western chart, or the main chart in Vedic astrology. That is your prarabdha karma, the karma to be experienced in this life. And this is actually the chart that the astrologer reads when I give you a reading, or when someone else, a proper Vedic astrologer, gives you a reading. So now, there's much more to say about that, and I will get to that in a second, because that's the main important one. But then there's also kriyamana karma, which is the karma that you create in this life, right? Because you come into this world, let's say you go to a festival, you took your like $200 with you, and then you have this $200 to spend here. Now what you do with it at the festival, it matters for the rest of your experience in the festival, right? You can use those $200 and you can spend it all the first night and get really drunk and get hangover and lose your money and get into a fight and whatever. Like, I used to do that. But you can also spend it wisely, and maybe you can make some friends and make a deal and actually go home and your pockets are fuller than before, right? So all of that is possible. And this is how we can change. This is the actions that we do to change our karma. Now, there's also, the last one is agama karma, which is much more subtle. Like as we go, they go much more subtle. That is the karma that we create for our intentions. And there's a whole thing of like intention setting. It's actually real. It's not like just like some new thing. It's actually a real thing, right? And actually just through your intentions and your desires that you cultivate, you actually also create some amount of karma. And this is why this whole thing of visualization and meditation, and it actually works. So, okay, cool. Now, what I want to speak about more is that karma that you have stored for this life. And obviously you understand already, we can make a difference with our intentions, with our actions. Now, there is this karma that we have for this life. And it comes in three intensities. They're called drita, which means fixed. Adrita, which means not fixed. And then drita, adrita. What do you think that means? There's drita karma, which means fixed karma, adrita karma, which means not fixed karma, and there's drita, adrita karma. Flexible, yeah. Literally, it means fixed, but not fixed.
Very complicated.
Right? And then most karma that you have, actually, it is drita, it's fixed, but not fixed. And then there's some karma that is fixed. And for me as an astrologer, when I see fixed karma, it's the best, because I can tell you this is what happened. But it doesn't happen. You don't have that much fixed karma, actually, right? And then there's not fixed karma. And for me, this is horrible, because I don't know what you do with it, because it's not fixed. Like, you can change it just like by doing one step, right? You can change it very easily. But then a lot of it, most of the karma, actually, it is drita adrita, which means it is fixed, but it is not fixed. So, and that is really where we can make a difference, right? Did I want to say any more about that? Oh, yeah. For example, we could have some example. For this fixed karma, basically how it works is, if I can read a chart and I can see those 1,000 building blocks that make you who you are, right, in the sky, and then also in yourself, then if everything tells me the same thing, then it's pretty fixed karma. For example, I can see this person. I can see one person, or Venus was really bad when he was born. The seventh house, which I teach you another time, connected to relationships, that was really bad when he was born. The seventh lord of the house was also really bad. 3 things look really bad. Then I know this pretty fixed karma. Very likely this person has some relationship issues. You can still do something about it, don't understand me wrong. But let's say if everything is really bad, which is for usually, if not for many people, not for anyone, yeah. Then you cannot do so much about it. And if you cannot do so much about it, then astrologer, what you can help is just to accept the situation. That helps too, right? Like, I mean, that does help, right? That's the worst, okay? The worst thing that can happen is if actually something is really screwed, which most of the time is not the case. But you can think that there's some things in life, sometimes for some people, they're really screwed. But then, it's just one area of life. You can just accept it and move on and focus on something better instead of just being stuck on it forever. What do you think? It's a tough one to swallow, but it does exist. It does, but not that often, Most things are fixed, but not fixed. For example, let's speak about not fixed first. I can see, okay, of those 3 indications that I look in, or of those 5 indications that I look, one is bad, I can see, Mars in the 7th house. He must have some temporary issues in his relationships, So then what do? You can recommend, hey, bro, do some anger management training, some passive-aggressive, like, some anger management training for the passive communication,
Nrikesari and if Ketu in the 7th house.
Ooh, that's it.
That's it?
I'm joking, I've Ketu in the 7th house too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, give me 5.
Yeah. It's great. Everything is good for something. Also, there's another thing. Even though maybe everything looks good, maybe it's fixed in one way, it's great in another way. Like, nothing is all bad, actually. There's just the perfect person has to be in the perfect place. And the perfect person with another, with the perfect person, in the perfect place. The problem is that often we just connect to people who are completely not what we need. And we're often attracted to go to places which are really not meant for us. And this is where actually problems start. But so much about fixed and not fixed. And then there's some karmas, maybe, okay, they are fixed but not fixed. So that means that this person, let's give that same relationship example, like, okay, he has not one indication off, but he has half of them off. So then, there's it's a bit more tough one to swallow. That means then you just have to do a bit more. And there's 3 ways how you can sort of like kriya mana karma, you could say. You could divide it into 3 different things you can do in your life to change your karma. And can we fit it on there? What do you think? Yeah, okay. Those 3 things, they're categorized into 3 categories. We have Stula, Sukshma, and Karana. I'm sorry, do you like Sanskrit? I love languages. I love all the traditional stuff, all the real things, So I'm going to give you the real thing, So Stula means gross. Sukshma means subtle. And Karana means causative. Causative is even subtler than subtle. Do you know what a gross means?
Like that.
Exactly, you can touch it. It's gross, like you can feel it, right? What is subtle? Like, give me some more examples of gross, actually. Tell me something that's gross.
Body.
Body, yeah. Earth, water, fire, air, kind of on the gap between gross and subtle.
Element.
Yeah, I think there's different types of air.
Yeah.
Is there some gross air?
That's great.
Maybe.
Polluted
I'm
air.
sure there's gross air. I smelled some gross air before in my life.
The smoke of the cigarette is a gross air.
There you go. So what is subtle? The mind. There you go. Exactly. Our psychology. It's subtle, like intelligence. You cannot touch it, but it exists, right? I think so. And then Karna is even more subtle as the actual cause. This is actually where things come from, like where do they manifest from? It is so subtle, it's hard to conceive. So now you can do work in those free times to change your karma in this life and work with the karma that you got from your previous life that you're meant to experience. And you can divide all the activities by understanding the archetypes of the planets, which will take time to learn. That's why you can just ask like your local astrologer, or you can study a little bit by yourself. But you can think about it if something that's interesting for you. Then there's gross remedies. For example, if I can see this person who has anger management issues, okay, which is connected to Mars, right? Then he can do some Martian activity to sort of lift up this look, because every planet has every archetype even has a good and a bad side, right? So we have this sort of person with anger problems, right, who is sort of too assertive and using it in the wrong places. And then on the other side, we have this kind of warrior person who's using his strength to protect the weak. It's the same archetype, right, but good or bad. So basically, your chart when you were born is just those different archetypes in your life. They were either good or bad. That's basically what it is. And now in this life, you can change them to some extent. And you can attack them on a gross level, which means if you have, let's give this example of this person with this afflicted Mars, he could do some sports. He could do some martial arts. He could do, something sporty, to something Martian to sort of solve the problem. Obviously, it is gross. So gross things, they actually in direction, it's the least powerful, because things start over here and then they go this way. Like, they start at the cause, they're subtle. Like, it's completely different to the West. In the West, everything starts from gross, right? And then sort of the subtle things evolve out of it. I'm sorry, think about it. In Vedic, in India, in many cultures, they saw consciousness first. We think consciousness last. They saw consciousness as first, but that's a whole another 2-hour workshop, so we can keep it for another time. There's things you could do on a gross level. For example, for Mars, that is like, if you seem like there's this anger problem, a Martian issue, some exercise, something like that, sports, many more things. If it's Jupiter, maybe if a person has a weak Jupiter, they might have problems with commitment. They might have problems processing things. Like sort of all intellectual disabilities, they're connected to Jupiter. But that is a bit more severe karma, so gross things might not work. But if for us, it's just a small problem, then it's so common sense, you don't even need an astrologer for it. You can do Jupiterian activities like reading a book, learning some deeper wisdom, attending some workshop, waking up early in the morning because that's Jupiter's time. Do you understand the idea? Yeah? Okay, cool. And then there's subtle remedies. Like, for example, if a person has, for example, attending psychological counseling, working with the mind, doing therapy, all those things, they actually have a place. And actually, in one sense, they're actually part of the framework of Vedic astrology, because it's only a framework of seeing the world. And then causative remedies, maybe this is something that in the West we have never ever heard about, because I don't know why. I can't speculate about it, but I don't want to put anyone down. Those include remedies which really actually address the archetypal cause of why things happening in this world. And those are things like doing, coming to like sacred places like this, meeting, reading spiritual literature, chanting mantras, visiting sacred places, taking vows, and all of that rhyme, which can actually fit in that really subtle, even beyond the mind, that soul level rhyme, that soul level work, that real soul level work, that is actually causative, and that is the most powerful. But it's not really part of our culture, so it seems a bit alien, like sitting down and chanting a mantra, like, it seems kind of weird, right? But you might want to give it a try. It might change your life forever. I've seen it.
It will impact on both levels.
Huh?
Straight away, it will impact automatically on both.
Exactly, because you're going to the root. Yeah. So, I just wanted to give you a brief overview how karma works. Because I think, like, people ask me this all the time. Like, can I change my karma? How does it work? So now you understand there's like 4 types of karma. There's 3 intensities. And there's 3 ways of dealing with it. And you might not immediately know how that exactly is in your life. But I mean, what do you think? How in 1 hour I'm going to tell all of you, because it will be different for all of you, how I'm going to tell it to all of you in 1 hour? That was not so practical, right? So I decided I answered this common question about what is karma, how does it work, what is Vedic astrology, how is it different to the West, and also show you that astrology is something that all people in the world were doing like forever, and just recently people just completely lost like all connection with time and space. And then to give you something personal, I have like printout. I have like I hope there's not for everyone, but anyone who's interested, if you want to know what is your rising sign, like what is the one building block of your personality, before we put the other 1,000 on top of it, that are in your chart, but that one, maybe that's important one, you can definitely relate to it. You can come to me. I can quickly tell you which rising sign you are if you know your birth time and date and place, and you can read it up on it. It's like 2 pages. I wrote something about all of the 12 rising signs, and I think it's really cool. You can even speculate which rising sign am I, which rising sign is your friends. And if you want afterwards, you can come and get one. And if you have any last questions, because it's getting time for lunch, or if you have a few questions, you can just ask me now. Any questions? Yes?
Retrograde.
Retrograde. Oh, that means they're stubborn. Basically, retrograde.
You're born when planets are in retrograde.
Yeah. Basically, retrograde planets. There's this phenomenon on Earth. If you look at a planet and that planet suddenly starts going backwards. But usually all planets, they go in the same direction, right? Except for Rahu and Ketu, which we didn't touch upon, the shadow planets, they go backwards because they are shadowy characters, right? So also sometimes planets, from the Earth's motion, you can watch it on YouTube, they start going backwards. And now if you were born when one of the planets go backwards, it means that you're very stubborn. And there's one area in your life or in your chart that you're constantly revisiting. For example, if you have a retrograde planet in your second house of finances, you're constantly revisiting your finances, and you're quite like stubborn about finance. You have strong desire there. Usually desire is 3 times stronger than normal, and also it takes you 3 times longer to get what you want. Yeah? Okay. Another question? That was a technical question.
Thank
you. Yeah?
I was just wondering with the timeline of like the weeks.
The weeks, oh yeah. Like this one?
Yeah. How does when there's like daylight savings, like is everything just shifted because it starts when the sun rises? Or
So actually, daylight savings actually does not affect the planets at all. The planets don't care about daylight savings. Because
when the sun rises in the Vedic kind of calendar, doesn't it start when the sun rises? So if it rises later during certain times of the year, is there a shift in that?
No, actually, because if you calculate it through since the sunrise, it changes every day by around 5 minutes, and because it changes by 5 minutes, actually, it's not going to change the order of the planets, because it's a subtle change, and it might not even be exactly 1 hour. It might be 59 minutes and 50 seconds to accommodate daylight savings. Yeah, sorry, first I understood your question wrong. I thought you asked, so when we changed the daylight savings to the weekdays change. But it was an intelligent question. It was a good question. Yeah.
Can I just add to that? You can get an app that just tells you the planetary hours, like really quickly, if you want to know what hour it is or you want to plan something around a planetary hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
If your rising sign is dependent on the time you were born, and then the time that you were born was changed by an hour because of daylight savings, would that not then change your rising sign to something?
This is why the astrologer has to consider daylight savings. Basically, what we look at really is what was in the sky.
Okay.
But most, like these days, like back in the days, you would calculate the chart by hand. Like if you're good, it takes maybe 10 minutes. If you're a beginner, it takes maybe 5 days. But these days you have computer softwares, and they usually calculate daylight savings.
When's your next one-on-one appointment?
Ooh, I'm not sure actually. Actually, I wanted to ask you because.
A shotgun anyway.
There were 2 people who signed up before when I was doing a reading, and they just put in themselves in a time, and there's actually someone else.
Oh, is that me later on today?
What's your name?
Renee.
Renee.
At 5 o'clock.
Oh, Renee, you okay? You okay? Maybe you can come 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is anyone here named Iman?
Yeah.
Do you mind if we do it tomorrow?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Can maybe speak afterwards? Okay.
Yeah.
And is there someone here called Shakira?
Yeah.
Do you mind if we just like put it on a different time? Because you just put yourself 15 minutes after someone else. And I can't do both people.
Yeah, I was like 15
I know.
minutes.
I didn't make the schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I speak to you both too, okay? Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Yeah?
Yeah, so when you do that you need the date of birth, the dates and everything.
Yeah.
What are you considering? Because in my country I was born the 26th, but by the time I was born here it was already the 27th.
Oh, we look at the time at your birthplace.
Location as well.
Okay.
Because what matters to me is what was in the sky when you were born. What was rising? If I would be born there when you were born and I look to the horizon, in the, which sign was rising in the east?
Okay, because here it was already the 27th,
Yeah,
but
no.
I was born on the 26th.
No.
So.
Yeah, we could look how you do in Australia by looking at that, but not yeah, that's something, yeah. Okay.
I'm so sorry that I missed this part about the days of the week, the word of the days of the week.
I explained to you over lunch.
Oh, I have another question. Just on.
Sorry, because it's a big one. It's a big one.
Because I've been waiting for 3 days.
Because I asked her like 3 days ago. Why is it Sunday, Monday,
I thought
Tuesday?
it was a quick answer.
No, it's like like. Yeah.
I hope just with the plans.
Yeah.
Yeah, just quickly on the location. So when you're reading, are you looking at so to predict like what's going on now or in the future, or are you looking at the birth chart of, like, let's say I'm born in Canada? Are you looking at what's going on in the sky in Canada? Or I'm now living in Australia. Are you looking at what's going on in the sky?
There's different techniques. Usually, first for birth chart reading, we look at your place of birth and the sky. Then there's something that's called relocational astrology, where you look at the different countries or the country that you're now, and then you draw a chart of the sky then when you were born. And then, because it will change, if you change your country, you also change your karma. It's part of gross remedies, changing the place where you are. Yeah. Okay. Any last one from this side? All good? Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I was looking for you in the morning.
Yeah, I just went to the there to go but thank you.
That's so interesting.
I know. Yeah, but then I went to the Ayurvedic and it's like, I'm going to pick coffee.
Yeah.
Let me just do those two words here. And then
Wait or wait till lunch?
yeah, that's good. I'll meet you at the or if you want, I can just slot in those two words.
Oh, I can wait.
Okay.
It's so interesting.
Oh yeah, that's right. So, does anyone have a phone?
Oh, no.
Because I have my phone actually there. Because I will just have to find out your rising sign.